So I want to talk a little bit about windfall elimination provision. We've talked about that in regard to people have pensions. So a normal person who does not have a pension is going to get 90% of 1174. Let's say, for example, they have 5,000 in indexed earnings, right? So they're going to get 90% of 1174. And they're going to get 32% of anything between 1174 and 5,000, right? Um, in this case, we're going to assume they don't have more than 7,078 and they aren't going to get a 15% on that piece. But so that's how it works for a normal person. But if you worked for a pension, if you had a pension and during the life of that pension, your wages, you didn't pay anything into Social Security, which is not uncommon particularly for government pensions. They're not going to pay into Social Security. You're going to get money on the back end. So the assumption is that if you're not paying into Social Security, that you won't qualify for Social Security. But some people do actually qualify. And they do get the 10 years of service in, or the 10 years of the 40 quarters in, and they are going to qualify for some small amount of Social Security. For those people, there is this provision that will start to go after a little bit of their income, their Social Security income. So let's take a look at this really quickly. So if you recall, what we said was you're going to get on 1174, you're going to get 90% on 32% on anything over 1174 and less than 7078, right? So for someone who worked fewer than 20 years, and has fewer than 20, and I say fewer than 20 years, I'm talking about Social Security earnings. So their entire amount they earned during their pension job, they got nothing, right? So they had to take another job, and they had to have worked essentially 80 quarters or fewer, right? But they qualified for Social Security. They're only going to get 40% of that at first 1174. So, that's going to roughly put them at about I believe that comes out to like 444. Which is what Joe Teach had. He was a teacher that worked summers in a summer camp. So he lost essentially $555 in his Social Security. He would have had about 999, and he ended up getting 444. Right. So he was in this situation. Now, what he could have done was he could have tried to work more years and qualify for more. So every year beyond 20 that you qualify, you get an extra 5% up, all the way up until 30 years, at which time you're going to get no adjustment. So there is this piece you need to know if you have a pension, and it's really important that you look at your payroll statements to know whether or not you're paying into Social Security or not. If you're not paying into Social Security, then you need to be very familiar with the windfall elimination provision, because it will affect you. And in some ways, it could affect you greatly.